Have you ever started off in a relationship where you meet a person and you are really into that person and you spend a lot of time with that person? You spend your every waking hour wanting to talk to that person and just be around that person. And then as the relationship goes on, you start to feel a little need to be separate from the person. Now, many people meet this with anxiety, but this is actually a natural progression in terms of any type of relationship, actually. Even when you're talking about parents and infants, okay? And so the infant does start off wanting to be attached to the parents, but eventually the child seeks individuation and the child wants to go and explore the world and create a separate identity. Now, all of this is natural. However, there are ways that people can get stuck in this particular developmental dynamic. And you see this in the political realm. And so, what I am noticing, and I've been noticing it for a while, but it's been normalized. And so, therefore, many people don't talk about this. It's this dynamic of over identification that is going on with respect to politics. Now, over identification in the short run can be benign. However, if over identification goes on for an extended period of time, it can become very detrimental. And that's what we are seeing with the political system that has been structured. Let me explain what I mean. What is being noted is this over identification with these politicians and these political parties by people who actually don't generally know these people, but they feel very attached to the people and to the ideas that the people are presenting. And so, in many ways, many individuals get engulfed in this dynamic. They develop an unhealthy and excessive attachment to politicians and politics. And what happens is that these individuals start to lose their own identity in exchange for an external identity, an external ideology. They start blurring the boundaries between themselves and others, these politicians and these politics. They lose objectivity. They lose all sense of perspective. It's like seeing two trees, and you have a plum tree on one side and you have a peach tree on the other side. And you see the plum and the peach tree, but you become overly attached to one of these trees, so much so that you cannot identify the goodness that might be that other tree, the strength of that other tree. And oftentimes, you will even lose perspective when you're doing this related to the weaknesses of the tree that you are attached to. And so there's good and bad potential in both of these trees. But when people are over identified in terms of these politics, they can't see their own side in a balanced way. And we're going to talk about this polarized thinking dynamic. And so the thinking becomes polarized. They cannot see the strengths and weaknesses of their side, if you will. And they also cannot see the strengths and weaknesses of the other side. And so when you're thinking about a debate, it's essential that you be able to identify the strength of the opponent's argument. Because if you don't know the strengths of the opponent's argument, you will not be able to address the totality of the argument. And if you don't know the weaknesses of your side, you will not be adequate in defending or presenting your side. I'm talking about this because this is a mental health issue that is couched in society. Okay, and so people are led to believe that this is a part of being in society, this is a part of democracy, this is a part of having a Republican form of government. This is essentially a form of mental illness when it is taken to an extreme. And I can see people taking this stuff to an extreme. They are losing who they are, they are becoming subsumed in the identity of another or an ideology of another. They are so attached to these external systems that they start to support or believe in ideologies and people that are counter to their own best interests. You see that going on right now. It's escalating right now with many individuals. Now, people attach to external things and beliefs based upon a number of dynamics. There is an element of identification there. So they feel something similar. However, people are taking this to an extreme and they are losing their sense of self. They are losing their sense of their own needs, and they are depending on other people to think for them and to act for them. They are, without even knowing it sometimes, they are actually being overwhelmed by the control of these external entities. They are overwhelmed by their dependency that they have developed and that has been cultivated in relation to these other entities. You can see this also in personal relationships if you really think about it. You know, you've seen people who are attached at the hip and they can't be separated. If one says yes, the other one says yes. If one says no, the other one says no. If one likes ice cream, the other one likes ice cream, even if they don't like ice cream. Okay. And usually there's one partner or even both that are fostering this form of pathology where people are losing themselves in other people. And what happens when people do this, all of this engulfment and this over identification, is that they position themselves to be manipulated and to be abused while their true self becomes engulfed in the reality of another, whether we're talking about an interpersonal relationship, a work relationship, or we're talking about a political relationship. And one of the ways that people can identify this over identification is that when they start to be unable to look at things objectively, when they cannot see the totality of a circumstance, when they cannot separate themselves from the other people, when they cannot identify their own perspective or their own idea about a particular topic. And everything that a politician does that they feel attached to, they see it as all right and all good. And when someone that they are not attached to does something, it could be the same thing. That's a key right there also. It could be the same thing, but they see it as all bad. That is because they are not thinking clearly. They are allowing their thoughts and their emotions and their perspectives to be controlled by something that is external to the self. And this is a very dangerous place to be in mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. This is not a good place to be in. Now, sometimes people are really caught up in some infantile forms of narcissism, and so therefore they may have a difficult time letting go of all of this because there's something they believe they're going to get out of this situation or out of a relationship where that type of dynamic is going on. However, the cost for that is going to be great because we are talking about people actually losing touch with reality. And so when people are unable to think clearly and objectively when they should be able to, when they cannot deal with reality, something that's sitting right there in front of them, and they exchange reality for fantasy, then they are walking down a problematic road. And so I encourage you, if you feel yourself going in that direction, to step back from these situations and take some time to think about what you are really seeing and what you actually feel and what you actually believe about that which is in you and that which is external to you. You cannot walk a healthy life path of autonomy if everything that you are doing, or most of the things that you are doing, are being controlled by the whims of other people. And that's what you see in this political arena right now. Now, some people are more vulnerable to it right now because we are in the season of their over identification. And so the politicians that are moving and shaking right now are the ones with which they feel this identification. And so therefore it's very difficult for many to actually see the problems associated with these entities. They can't see clearly the road they are being taken down because they are too attached to the entities and the ideologies to see the forest for the trees. Remember, knowledge is power.